Back in focus where we are, we're talking about the origin and the history and the destiny of reality. Right now we're in the part regarding the history. We've seen who the originator is by defining the term deity, divinity, and God. Now we go into the deity activity, what God does, the history part of understanding reality, where it's come from, the genesis of it, where it is right now, more or less, and where it is heading. So the first section here, on the bottom of page 4, but just one sentence, the first source and center of all things. Total, infinite reality is existential in 7 phases and in 7 coordinate absolutes. Total infinity is already in existence in an existential fashion, means it has always been. There's never a time when it was not. The other phase of reality is experiential, when things come into existence and either evolve or eventuate into actuality. And we're in that phase of evolution. But the existential phase is already in 7 phases, 7 coordinate absolutes. And those 7 absolutes are the first source and center, second source and center, third source and center, or the Father, the Son, and the Infinite Spirit. The fourth one is the Isle of Paradise. That's where these things have taken place. Then we have 3 mysterious entities called Deity Absolute, Universal Absolute, and Unqualified Absolute. And this was the crux of my problem some years ago in understanding those 3 terms. Let me see if I have some pictures that we'll show you at the end when we come down to kind of capsulize all this with some visuals of how these things kind of fit together. Let's imagine the Father producing the Son and the Spirit on paradise. The Father and the Son. The Father produces the Son. Together they, on paradise, produce the Infinite Spirit. Using terms here, as that happened, and simultaneously with that occurrence, also came forth all the potentials to do the same thing over again on the experiential level. By reason of the deity absolute, he can have all personalities, all spirit things that are already existential in the Son. He'll do again on another level, experiential. Same way with unqualified absolute. What paradise is, this will be a reflection of paradise. All the potentials of the cosmos are then qualified. And universal absolute is the one that unifies all those 2 together and unifies that together with the existential deities and the existential everything in those 7. The universal absolute will unify, coordinate all those things. I'll show you, at the end I'll show you a kind of picturization of how this takes place. We have to have the absolutes because he was saying, well, where do things come from? Things were made out of nothing? No, they were not made out of nothing. They were made out of the potentials that have been in existence. These are the potentials which have been existential. What we have to do is how to get those potentials that are existential, the absolutes, how to get them into actuality. That's not really our job. It begins with the other beings that are mentioned in the book, like the architects of the vaster universe. Those are the beings mainly involved in setting up the stage to get these existential potentials in the phase where they can be operated upon by sub-infinite beings. That's we can read that a little later, how that's done, who does that, and how it's done. But the process, more or less, it's not just God says, let it be, and it's done. It has to go through processes by sub-infinite beings, and apparently because he wants to share all things with us. There's one phrase in there I like. It says that back in eternity, God established a policy of profound self-distribution, that whatever anyone else could do, he would let them do it. He'd reserve only to themselves those things which nobody else can take care of, like keeping us in existence. That is done by the Father. Okay, God as the first source and center is primal in relation to total reality, unqualifiedly. That is the universal Father. The first source and center is infinite, as well as eternal, and is therefore limited or conditioned only by volition. God, the universal Father, is the personality of the first source and center, and as such maintains personal relations of infinite control over all coordinate and subordinate sources and centers. He is there, but if they can handle the situation, they always do. He can interfere at any time, even in our lives right now, if he wanted to. But as far as we're concerned, with the helps he's given us, we are very, very well taken care of. I have another visual I'll try to show you later to capsulize all the ways in which God surrounds us, dwells us. We're taken care of in countless ways. I'll try to show you on a visual what that means. The Father really doesn't have to interfere in anything down here. It's perfectly taken care of. I don't know if he ever has. You say, oh, the Father, God spoke to me. Not really. It's one of the absolute beings that talk to you. But it is as if God did, so that's fine if you want to think God spoke to me or God interfered in my life or this, that way. There's really no need for the infinite Father to do that because the other creator sons and other beings he has in place do a very fine job. Such control is personal and infinite in potential. He can at any time, but not necessarily do it, even though it may never actually function, owing to the perfection of the function of such coordinate and subordinate sources and centers and personalities. That's what we were saying a second ago, that there's never any reason in the Father's plan why he should ever interject his personal relations with us down here. He does that in other ways, through indwelling us as personality, by way of the adjuster, but that's a different way. The first source and center is therefore primal in all domains. Not necessarily he does actually operate there, but he could. Deified or undeified, personal or impersonal, actual or potential, finite and infinite. Just making the point here that the Father is primal in every one of those things, especially the primal that he has to be there first, or these things could not possibly be. He has to be there here and now for them to continue in existence. We completely depended upon him just simply to be. One of the favorite phrases in here, it's literally true. In him we live, we move, and we have our being in the Father. So, no thing, no being, no relativity or finality exists except indirect or indirect relation to and dependence on the primacy of the first source and center. It's very comforting to realize that, how well taken care of we as creatures are. Because I think worship, as they define it, is the recognition, the realization of the true relation that exists between creature and creator. We understand that all we can do is praise God, hallowed be your name. There's nothing else to do when we realize that the only thing we can really do of our own is to assent by our free will to say, that your will be done. Let it go the way it's going because your plan is perfect. So how is the first source and center related to the universe? These are 7 ways we're going to go into now. They pretty well cover, for the most part, the ways in which we are enveloped in God, or God envelops us, how he's intertwined in God, how he's immersed within the universe. First of all, by the gravity forces of the material universe, all converge in the gravity center of Nether Paradise, the area that is the underside of the Isle of Paradise. All gravity forces have to converge there. That's what keeps all things in the place where they are and in the rotation of elliptical circle around the center, because of the Father's presence on paradise, which controls all the gravity coming out of the nether side. That is just why the geographic location of his person is eternally fixed in absolute relation to the force energy center of the nether or material plane of paradise. But the absolute personality of deity exists on the upper, or the spiritual plane of paradise. So imagine paradise like this. Nether goes out from here. All gravity is controlled here. The Father is situated in the center and controls all things. And if he were not there, nothing could possibly continue. It would be complete and utter chaos, even if it couldn't continue in existence. Because gravity is also what keeps things in existence. The second way in which the Father is related to the universe is through the mind forces. They all converge in the infinite spirit. If you have the use of mind or intellect in any possible way, even trying to grasp, understand, to relate these ideas, it's only because those mind forces converge on paradise in the infinite spirit. He is the controller of mind, the universal integrator, the mind bestower. And if he were ever to depart from that sphere, some way to neglect us or not be there, we could not continue to think. That is the mind circuit, and we have to depend absolutely upon the presence of the infinite spirit to be in place at all times. So as long as we think, we know that God is in his place. The differential and divergent cosmic mind in the seven master spirits, the factualizing mind of the Supreme, the time-space experience in Majeston. The infinite mind causes us to participate in the cosmic mind by way of seven master spirits, which break up, make divergent the infinite mind, going through these seven master spirits. The combination of all these, the mind of the infinity, as it is portrayed on the superuniverse, what we call the supreme mind. So we have the infinite mind, the supreme mind, and then we have the cosmic mind. The cosmic mind is the way we make use of it. If we want to refer to it back to the, where it's all being focalized, then it becomes the supreme mind. So right now, you might consider it as a circuit that we tap into, that we can utilize. And as we're born, come into this world, we are given a material mechanism that is able to tap into the cosmic mind, and that, of course, is our body, the brain, and that's pretty well fixed. We can't change what we come into this world with, and that's what we have to use to tap into the mind. So some people it's better, and some it's not so good, but that is the what we have to work with, and that's all God expects us to do, is use the mind that we come in here with. And it's not going to be the same mind as Einstein or someone else. We use what we have and do the best with it. And if we do spend the best we can on it, we're as good as anybody else who has the greatest mind in the whole thing. The Father knows where we come from, and this is only a temporary mechanism He gives us. It's scaffolding, which we get rid of as we go on to other planes. We get a better mind, in which they describe in the book here called Urantia mind, and even into the spirit mind, things like that. We'll get beyond what we have right now anyway.